It's Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined by heavyweight Harry Armstrong. Dirty Harry, as the top says, although I've always found you to be a gentleman. How you doing, mate?
I'm very, very well, thank you. How about yourself?
I'm very good, thank you. It must have been a pretty up and down few days for you. You're on the undercard of the Anthony Joshua fight at the O2 on Saturday night, challenging for the Southern Area title against Johnny Fisher. But this whole event was thrown into disarray on Saturday when it was reported that Dillian Whyte had returned an adverse finding on a VADA test. And it seemed like, at least outside of the people involved, no one really knew what was going to happen with the show. What was it like for you?
Um, it wasn't too bad, to be honest. I kind of thought, because of the size of the show, I was fairly confident they'd find a replacement for Anthony Joshua. So obviously there was a few moments of being a bit anxious about whether it was happening or not, but I was also fairly confident they were going to find a replacement. So I wasn't too worried about the show not going ahead.
So it didn't really disrupt your preparations then, because obviously you're just rounding off your camp now. I know you've been out in Spain, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but it didn't kind of get in the way of any of that.
Not at all. We had our last few days planned, and we just continued it as it was supposed to be anyway. So it was all fine for us.
And when did you get the call, if there was a call, to say, yeah, it's all definitely going ahead, and you could kind of breathe that sigh of relief?
Monday morning, I reckon I got a message from my manager just saying, "Yep, definitely going ahead. All is fine." So yeah, it was only 2 days of sort of thinking about it. Really, it was all
Well,
right.
that's good, I suppose. You've been out in Granada, rounding off your camp with Daniel Dubois, who's of course, like you, trained by Don Charles. He's getting ready, Dubois that is, for Alexander Usyk. How much of a benefit for you has it been that you've got to spend the last few weeks of your camp out there? I know the facilities are pretty amazing.
It's been incredible. The facilities are top notch. Couldn't ask for anything better. Um, Two massive boxing rings, all the S&C equipment you can imagine. Is the venue is set up for Olympians, so anything you could imagine, they've got it. And you're at the top of a mountain, 2,300 meters above sea level. It's difficult to breathe. So every bit of fitness you can imagine getting, you get up there. It's absolutely fantastic up there.
And were you doing pretty much everything Dubois was doing in terms of, S&C runs, all that sort of stuff? Were you all doing everything together?
Very similar, yeah. We had our own times we trained on, like say, the boxing front, but with the strength conditioning and the runs, they were all pretty much together because I'm fighting 10 round, he's fighting 12 rounders. So it was all very similar what we needed to achieve. So it was like a big team. It was really good.
Now, did you spar each other at all? Because obviously he's preparing for a tricky southpaw and Usyk. I'm assuming it's not going to line up that way, but did you do any rounds?
We didn't do any rounds out there. We've done rounds previously, but not in this part of the camp now. Like you said, he needs southpaw sparring, so he has some fantastic southpaws out there.
And you were preparing, obviously, for your own title fight. For a lot of people, they're going to say, I really want a world title. A lot of people even see area titles, English, British, as stepping stones on the way there. What does the Southern area mean to you?
That's something that means everything. It's the first title you can win as a pro. Um, I've been trying to get a fight for the Southern Area title for at least a year or longer now. So to finally be able to get that secured and nailed down means the world to me. It's the first, obviously, I want to go on and win world titles, but this is the first step that I have to overcome to get to that point.
And the Southern area has been vacant for a little while. Has this fight been kind of talked about for a while? I know you had the Jamie TKV fight not long ago, but it had been mooted because I know they were trying to move Johnny Fisher towards the Southern area for a while.
Um, we had a couple of opponents for the Southern Area back in January, and they fell through. So the actual fight for the Southern Area went quiet. We've been after the Johnny Fisher fight for a good 9 or 12 months now. So I think everything just lined up correctly. That the title was vacant. I'm mandatory for it. Johnny Fisher's got himself into the position where he can fight for it. So we're finally able to make the fight.
We'll talk about Johnny and that fight in a minute, but let's go back to that Jamie TKV fight. A very close fight for most people watching, I think. When you look back on it now, how do you reflect on your performance and the result?
Um, the result will always be frustrating because I do not like losing. Performance was okay. There was things I could have done a lot better. I didn't have very long to prepare for the fight, so I wasn't at my fittest. I know in this fight coming up, I'm a hell of a lot fitter than I was in that fight. So I'll be boxing a slightly different style. And then I've got that finish to keep pushing on. So at the end of the day, it was a great experience. It was great to go out on such a big platform, such as Sky. But it will always be frustrating that I didn't win that fight.
And now you've got the chance to kind of get a measure of redemption, not only to win against a big prospect in Johnny Fisher, but to get your first professional title as well. What do you make of Johnny as a fighter and how he's progressed to this point?
Um, I think he's good. He's very strong. He's very game. He's athletic. I think he's had a slightly easier run than a lot of other heavyweights out there on the platform he's been on. But he's good. His game will come. He will try and win. Finish strong. I know I've got too much for him come Saturday night.
When you say too much, what are the factors or the skills that you think will make the difference? Where do you have the advantages?
Experience. I've been in this game for my entire life. I've been sparred everyone for many, many years. I fought a lot of top amateurs in my amateur experience. I just believe I'm a far superior boxer. My skills will outweigh any big right hands that Johnny's going to try and throw. I believe I'll frustrate him and lay it down the line in the fight, pull away and win comfortably.
Good to hear. Good to hear the confidence. Do you think it's quite a big jump from the level he's been operating at to fighting you?
I do, because I don't believe he's fought anyone that has actually come and wanted to win. In his last couple of opponents, just went down incredibly easily. They know they're coming to get paid well, and if in that position and they can do 1 or 2 rounds instead of 5 or 6 or 8 rounds, then they still get paid the same amount. Why would they not? So I don't believe he's fought anyone that is a dedicated winner like I am. So it's going to be incredibly tough for him on Saturday night.
And there's been a lot of rumours in the last few days that with the change in opponent for Joshua at the top of the bill, it will probably be moved from the Zone pay-per-view just to available for all the Zone subscribers. I don't know how much you think about stuff like that, but I guess it means a bigger audience potentially for you.
It means a much bigger audience. There's a lot of people who I know wouldn't want to pay the £27, £28 for pay-per-view, even though it is Joshua. It's still a lot of money. So now everyone that has the Zone is free to watch, hopefully. So the audience is going to be massive. It's going to be fantastic.
And if it all does go your way on Saturday night, how will this rank in terms of the accomplishments in your career? Is it right up there?
Oh, as a professional, it is right there. Is #1 best accomplishment and be best person I've fought. Which I'll have my first belt and we'll be able to move on to much bigger things, hopefully.
Stuff. And what are those bigger things? What's kind of your ambitions, either medium term or long term? Where do you want to go?
English title, British title, and then get some more rounds, more experience at that sort of level, and then push on for European and world titles.
And you said you've sparred pretty much everyone. Have you sparred Fisher before?
I think we've done 2 rounds at my gym. We come down to spar Derek, and a few things changed. We ended up sparring and doing a couple of rounds, which was fun and interesting, and I learned everything I needed to know in those 2 rounds. So yeah, it was good.
Why was it only 2 rounds?
I'm not 100% sure. There was a lot of us sparring. We were all jumping in and mixing around. So he did 2 rounds, jumped out. Stayed in, did a few more rounds with a few other people.
And let me just ask, what do you make of the British title scene at the moment? Because we saw Fraser Clark was pulled out by his team from the purse bids against Fabio Wardley, who's the champion. Now looks like Wardley will probably have to defend against David Adelaide. What do you make of that mix?
To me, it's typical frustrating heavyweights. They want to fight each other, and then when it actually comes down to it, they won't get along with each other. David Adelaide, I mean, he always done what he says he's going to do. So I do believe he'll fight Wardley. I think that'll be a cracking fight. I think Wardley will probably win that fight later on in the fight. I think they just need to get in and fight each other and stop the 6-9 month delay every time there's a fight. Fight every 3 months, every 4 months. Get on with it. Get doing it.
And we've seen that sort of paralysis at the world scene as well recently, with obviously Joshua, Usyk, Fury, and so on. Which ones of those, if any, have you sparred? Because you said you've sparred everyone. Have you sparred any of those world level guys?
I sparred Fury. I've done a fair few rounds with Tyson Fury many years ago when he was preparing for Klitschko. And previous to that, haven't sparred Joshua or Usyk yet. Both are guys that I would like to spar. Definitely get some experience at that level. I've done close to 200 rounds with Joe Joyce.
Oh.
So I've
that can't have been fun. 200 rounds with the juggernaut.
I enjoyed it. I had a good time. Yeah.
Fair enough. He's obviously preparing for his big rematch at the moment. Do you give him much of a chance of putting right the wrong, if you like, against Zhilei Zhang?
I do if he's been away and had enough sparring with southpaws and a massive southpaws. His angle is huge. But I went to that fight and I was very close to the ring, and he is a massive man. So as long as Joe Joyce has had the correct sparring preparation, I don't see why he can't win it. It's going to be an incredibly tough fight. And I guess he's hoping for Zhang to continue to slow down a bit as he gets older. I still think it's 50-50 fight. I'd like to see Joe win it. I like Joe. I've got a lot of time for him, so I would like to see him win that fight. But it's going to be incredibly difficult.
Keep our fingers crossed for him. Just coming back to your show, do you know at this point who AJ is going to be fighting in the main event?
No idea. No, there's obviously lots of rumours online. Just before speaking to you, it looked like it's going to be Robert Helenius, which isn't a terrible opponent. He's only had 4 losses, 32 wins. He's coming off the back of a win, I think a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So he's
I think it was Saturday.
Yeah. So if the
he'll be fit,
he'll be fit. Yeah. It could be someone completely random. I really don't know at this point.
From what you were hearing in the last few days, it seemed like quite a lot of people were being kind of called and seeing if they were available and stuff. Was that the impression you were getting? I'm assuming you didn't get a call.
I didn't get a call, unfortunately. No. I don't think my profile is quite big enough yet. But
Yeah.
I thought I was quite confident Chisora is going to get it, to be honest. But it doesn't look like he's going to get it. But we're a couple hours time from now, we could be sitting here saying, "Yep, Chisora's fighting him." The heavyweight division is mad. It's part of the reason it's so fun to be in. But yeah, there is a whole host of people it could be.
Where do you sit on the whole Chisora thing? Because you know him pretty well. You know, the half of the people say, yeah, give him the fight, give him a big payday, exposure, etc., etc. The other half will say, well, he shouldn't really be fighting anymore. Definitely not in potentially hard fights because of all the miles on the clock. What do you think?
I'm split down the middle because he's done a hell of a lot for the heavyweight sport for many, many, many years. He's been around forever. He's fought everyone, continues to fight everyone, and he never ever gets in the ring and doesn't give it 100%. If he was getting in the ring and it was obvious he was there for just a payday and he was going down easy, then you'd say, yeah, it's time for him to stop and move on, do something else with life. But he still gets in there, still gives it 110% and still has very entertaining fights. But then I would also like to see Joshua challenged by someone that he has no idea about, someone who can really give him a good fight. Because if he wants to fight Deontay Wilder in December or January, then this fight on Saturday needs to be a big test for him.
Who would you have picked?
I don't know. I really don't know. I can't really give you a name, to be honest.
All right, that's fine. Just before I let you go, just tell people out there how they can find you on social media so they can follow you a bit more closely before and after the Johnny Fisher fight.
Facebook was Harry Armstrong, and Instagram is the dirty_Harry.
Where does Dirty Harry come from? Is it just like the film character?
Yeah, I've always been a Clint Eastwood fan. Obviously he plays Dirty Harry, and he also plays a lot of cowboy films. I love America, and I love cowboys and that sort of stuff. And Don actually came up with the name because of the way that I move in the ring during sparring and fighting, and he started calling me Dirty Harry. It stuck, and it's been that ever since.
Because you're quite a clean boxer, aren't you? If we're honest.
Yeah, it's not
quite smooth.
Exactly, yeah. It's not down to being like necessarily dirty in the ring or anything like that. It's more just the way I move and the smoothness and the coolness and the ability of movement that I have.
Well, fingers crossed. It's a dirty night on Saturday for you. Really appreciate your time, mate. So close to the fight as well, and yeah, looking forward to seeing it.